have finally decided that it's time to dive in and start learning how to play this instrument you've always dreamed of being able to play. Great. Now what? Practice? Yeah, you've heard that, but like for how long? In this video, we're gonna break down exactly how long it will probably take you to learn to play the piano, and we're gonna give you some tips and tricks to make that process way faster. Okay, so first and foremost, let's answer the question. How long will it take you to learn to play the piano? Drum roll, please. The answer is, it depends. Now, I know that is not what you wanna hear, so let me give you a practical answer. And that is probably like a minimum of 2 months, and that's if you're an average person learning an instrument. But let's talk about some of the conventional, traditional things that you have to learn if you're going to learn how to play this instrument correctly. To cover that stuff, we're gonna talk about the senses that we use to play music. Well, we don't taste music, and we don't generally smell music. So that leaves touch, sight, and sound. Let's break it down. So first, when it comes to touch, we have to address the actual tools that we use to play this instrument, or hands. More specifically, we have to teach you what to actually do with your hands so that you can control them. You can't play the notes correctly if you can't control what notes your fingers are hitting. See, most people have a generally decent amount of hand-eye coordination. Like, look at any object. Can you pick it up? Congrats, you have good enough hand-eye coordination to probably play at least some piano. You see, it's not that the movements required of your fingers are incredibly hard, it's just that you haven't done them before. Like, go grab your toothbrush and try brushing your teeth with your left hand. Way harder, right? I mean, does your left hand have the same physical capabilities as your right hand does? Theoretically, yes. You just don't brush your teeth with your off hand every night, so it's weird. Playing the piano is exactly the same. Like, your fingers can do it, they just never have. So you have to show them how, but they'll get it. And then you have the added difficulty of like playing multiple notes at once or getting your two different hands to do two different things at once. Again, not impossible, you just don't know how yet because you never do it. You probably do in a lot of other areas of your life, just not sitting here learning to play this instrument for the first time. And specifically when it comes to our fingers playing keys on the piano, we have to learn how to play everything accurately, evenly, and cleanly. This requires us actuating our fingers to strike individual keys one at a time. And this sounds simple, but you would be amazed at how much of a curveball this is for a lot of people the first time. And if that's you, don't worry, it is completely normal to struggle with this when you're first starting out. That's why things like 5-finger exercises are super useful. We cover a lot of that stuff in our intro to piano course, link in the description down below. But then we have to address the fact that we only have 5 fingers on each hand, and that like doesn't allow us to cover much area on this giant keyboard without like moving our hand around. But even if we move our hand around, it's like, well, how, if we get to the top here, how are we then gonna keep going? Kind of have this like physical limitation. This thing is not that big. Well, to solve that, we got these handy dandy little things called opposable thumbs. And with those opposable thumbs, we created something called a crossover, or cross under, depending on how you're looking at it. And no, we're not gonna break any ankles with our crossovers. You might break your brain for a minute or two, but that's normal, don't worry about that. This is just the method that we use to create a fluid line of notes up and down the keys. It unlocks our ability to play scales and a whole bunch of other way more complex stuff. It's an essential skill that we have to cover when we're first learning how to play so that we can not just be stuck playing those like C position 5-finger exercises. Okay, cool, so it's gonna take some time to get these mallets that we're using to hit this thing to learn how to do what our brain wants them to do. How much time? Again, it depends, because it requires doing some annoying and unfun things like scales and exercises. They suck, but they work, and that's just the way it is. Try playing your favorite songs without doing them. Like, you might be able to, like you might get it eventually, but it'll take way longer and it'll be way harder, so just do the exercises. I promise it'll be so much easier. All right, so if it depends, what does it depend on? The answer is you. A lot of different things just involving you. Mainly, how frequently are you going to sit down and work on these exercises? And then once you're sitting down, how focused are you? How long are you going to sit there? Remember when we said it might take the average person about 2 months to start being able to play something that resembles their favorite songs? We didn't specify how much that person was doing on a daily basis. That's up to you, and it's probably the single most important variable that's going to determine how much time it actually takes to accomplish your goals. To determine how much you actually accomplish in those 2 months, or maybe if you don't even need that long. Practice 8 hours a day and you'll probably get there way faster than 2 months, but you'll probably also hate the piano, so maybe don't do that. Okay, well, now we've covered touch, right? Well, sort of. You still have other things like arms and feet, And a but, we do have to think about all of this stuff too. You don't want to get sore from sitting the wrong way or potentially injure yourself from playing the wrong way. Luckily, that stuff's pretty easy, you just have to be aware of it. What about feet? Well, you got these things down here below the keyboard that do different things, and we have to learn how to use them. Luckily, you don't really need to know that much about them just to get started. So we'll call all of that stuff like the be aware of it category, and we can come back to it all much later, once we're already playing the songs that we actually care about. Great, so now we move on to sight, and you're asking yourself, what do our eyes have to do with playing the piano if Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder exist? True, we don't need to look at the keys in order to play them. You probably don't look at a computer keyboard to type, right? You don't really need to look to play either. But, you know, that's like hard mode, so we'll get to that later. Definitely start by looking. What I'm actually talking about here is reading music. How do you know what to play if you can't read the literal instruction manual? Well, congrats, because this is actually kind of a non-issue. You don't need to know how to read sheet music in order to start playing your favorite Disney songs or whatever. Will it be incredibly important as you progress in your piano learning journey? Maybe. Most likely, yes. Some of the greatest of all time didn't know how to read music. It's not a requirement, but you probably will need to learn it. But learning it is not that hard. It's not nearly as hard as everybody thinks it is, and it'll make your life so much easier. So just do it, but the good news is that you don't have to just to get started in the first place. Okay, cool. So sight, aside from looking at our hands and making sure that we're playing the correct notes, it's not really an issue, because all the important stuff we can come back to later. Moving on to sound. This is the second thing that you'll probably run into, but I actually think it's the most important. Let's talk about why. Hearing music and understanding music is literally the whole idea behind being able to play anything you want. Unfortunately for you, what that actually means is learning music theory. But don't panic. That does not mean learning a giant glossary of terms and definitions for some test that you'll probably never use anything from ever again. The theory that we're concerned with learning is understanding how to harness the things that you probably already know the sound of and might even have learned to play already. Check it out. If I played these 4 chords for you, you probably can think of 20 different songs that use those exact chords. It's the classic, you only need 4 chords to write a pop song thing, and it's completely true, but here's the cool thing. That's theory. It's just that you've never learned what to call it, or more importantly, how to pull it up and use it on anything else that you might want to play. But once you start to make sense of all those different sounds that you're probably already used to, you can start making some real headway in figuring out how to apply them and figure out how to play anything you want to play. And it's not just about chords either, it's about hearing the distance between notes, that's intervals, or the speed of those notes, which is tempo, or the short and long combinations of different notes, that's rhythm. These are all things you know, but they do all have names, and they're things that we can learn how to harness and manipulate in order to get any sound we want to out of the piano. You see, theory is not about learning a bunch of definitions for a test. It's about learning to harness the power of the things you already know so that you can learn to play anything you want. Now, is theory required to start playing? Absolutely not. But again, like with the finger exercises and stuff, it's just gonna be a lot easier if you at least learn some of the things that are required to understand how your favorite songs are pieced together. It's just gonna make your life a whole lot easier. It's like, how can you tell yourself what chords to use to build your favorite song if you don't even know what a chord is or how to build one? Okay, so that is a bunch of stuff that we're gonna have to cover if we want to learn how to play anything we want to on the piano. But again, the more important question that we're here to answer is, how much time will all of that take? And more importantly, how can we speed that process up? Let's take something incredibly basic that we very commonly use to work on finger dexterity and strength: Hanon. In case you didn't know, this little book of 60 exercises for the piano is one of the most commonly assigned and used exercise books in piano education history, and for good reason. It's full of things like this. These exercises allow us to strengthen the weaker parts of our hand and get used to making more difficult connections between our fingers. Okay, so here's where we can start to get a sense of the time requirement that's in front of us. Check out how you'll very likely start when you start learning how to play the first exercise. It might sound something like this. start incredibly slowly, maybe even significantly slower than what I'm playing here. And that's because we want to focus on accuracy and strength. When we're starting from nothing, it might take a little bit of time to properly execute the things that our brain is telling our fingers to do. But here's the thing. This is where you're trying to get to. How do you go from here to here? The answer is like this. Notice what I did there? Played the exact same exercise over again, but maybe 2 beats per minute faster. If we're increasing by 2 beats per minute, trying to get from 30 BPM to 108, that means it's gonna take us like 40 repetitions at 2 beats per minute increase to get there. Okay, cool. Well, playing through the entire exercise one time at the slow tempo took me like, I don't know, definitely over a minute. Call it 2 minutes. So, with a little bit of math, 40 repetitions at 2 minutes each. That's an hour and 20 minutes to get the first exercise from the starting tempo to the target tempo. But wait, you're saying, if I play it faster, it's not going to take 2 minutes. Ah, that is true, but we also didn't take into account that you're gonna make mistakes. You're a human being, that's no problem at all, but every time we make a mistake, you're gonna stay right there at that tempo for even longer because we want to be consistently accurate before we move that metronome up a couple of clicks. So even if we made one mistake only per try at every individual tempo, that's already going to double the total amount required, which puts us into the mid 2 hours. And if you make a second exercise, might as well triple it. And trust me, you're gonna make mistakes. So in reality, we can already see how the time scale gets out of hand really quickly. And here's the thing, we're talking about exercise number 1 out of 60. And they get harder as you go. Now, do you have to play all 60 Hanon exercises at the target tempo perfectly before you can consider yourself a viable beginner pianist? Obviously not. But it does start to illustrate the repetition and the time required to develop proficiency at the many various things that you're going to have to learn when you're starting out on this instrument. Every additional skill we want to add to our overall abilities is going to require a ton of time. If we consider that every single aspect of playing this instrument requires that type of time commitment, and then every additional level of proficiency and level of complexity of every single skill requires a similar time commitment, we can easily see how the pros spend years and years and years practicing to become, well, professionals. Okay, that's all great, but now you're probably feeling like you're never gonna get there. Well, don't fret, because from here on out, we're gonna talk about all of the solutions to your problems. Number 1, have a great teacher or guide or course or something that can help guide you and put you on your way to becoming the pianist you want to be. Shameless plug for our Intro to Piano course. It is available in the description, and it will take you through all of these steps from beginner to being able to do exactly what we're talking about in this video. Maybe it takes you 2 months, maybe it takes you longer. There's over 170 videos complete with a ton of exercises, downloadable resources, PDFs, all kinds of stuff to help you make sense of all this stuff. That's a huge part of making the time required go down significantly if you have guidance. And you know what? Actually, if you use that link, you're gonna get 50% off our Intro to Piano course. It's a one-time purchase, you keep the material for life. Really, really simple. Go use that link in the description. It'll be the best thing that you do, and it'll help you on your way. So that is obvious step number 1, but there's a lot of other things that we're gonna have to consider as well. The second step, after you go sign up for the Intro to Piano course, is to determine what success on this instrument even looks like. What are you trying to do? What do you want to play? What do you want to sound like? What do you want to be able to do? What do you like about the idea of being able to play this instrument fluently? And then next, we have to toss out everything that is not realistic. Everything we can confidently say is impossible to achieve in such a short time frame. Like, you're not going to debut at Carnegie Hall. You're not going to be playing professionally. You're not going to sound like your favorite piano players. These things take years to accomplish, and you absolutely can get there, but you're not gonna do it in 2 months from the time you first start learning the instrument. It's just not gonna happen. And that's okay. But we just need to be upfront and honest about what we're actually gonna be able to accomplish. If our goal is speed, our goal cannot be total proficiency. Our goal has to be more about getting some of the small things together that can help us start to play our favorite songs, start to play something that resembles our favorite songs in the easiest way possible. And there's a lot of things we can do. So What can we do? Can you learn to play simple versions of one or two songs that you've always wanted to be able to play on the piano? Most likely, yes. Defining the parameters of what success looks like and using realism and practicality to establish those parameters is like one of the most important things about speeding up the learning process. You have to have a direction to get literally anywhere. So we start with guidance, like 50% off the Intro to Piano course, link in the description. And then we cover what can we actually accomplish? What do we want to do? And then what's realistic? After that, we want to start taking practical steps. Now, here's the thing to think about. If you go and you buy or download a simple sheet music arrangement of the song that you want to learn how to play, is that going to help you if you don't know how to read music? No. Could you watch a piano tutorial on how to play your favorite song? Maybe. If by using your eyes in terms of seeing what somebody's doing on the piano and using your ears in terms of being able to hear some of those chords, learning a little bit of theory, all of that stuff that we can put together that doesn't require going super in depth, those are the things we can use. We want to simplify the things that we're trying to execute. And by simplify, we're going to actually look at the building blocks of songs, and that is at its most simple form, chords and melodies. If you can learn a little bit about chords, like the difference between major and minor and the different shapes of chords, which ones use white keys, which ones use black keys, what a triad looks like, how to build one. All of these really basic concepts can help you understand the best ways to build the songs that you want to play. And after that, the only thing you have to do is figure out how the melody goes. And that we use our handy dandy little ears for, and we can pick it out. We can go, oh, does that note sound right? Does this order sound right? When you finally get it, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I know how to play the melody to this now. Or you can literally look up a tutorial on how to play that specific song and watch somebody do it, see what notes they're playing visually with your eyes. I used to learn this way when I was a kid. I used to literally look over my teacher's shoulder, watch what he was doing on the piano, and then from that point, I would just use my ear to fill in the blanks. But I was starting with like, okay, it looked like he did this, and I would mimic that to begin with. And then after I did that, I'd be like, well, if I played this, that obviously doesn't sound as good as that. Ah, there we go. That's better, right? So I would use a lot of those context clues and visualization to actually play the things that he was playing. That's how I learned some early arrangements that I ended up performing a lot. Why did I do that? Because I wasn't super comfortable reading music, but I didn't need to be super comfortable reading music yet to be able to play some pretty impressive things for a 10-year-old. Breaking music down into its most basic building blocks is going to be one of the most valuable things that you can do. And if you just learn a little bit about chords and a little bit about how to hear and figure out and work out melodies on your own, that's really all you need to be able to play a couple of your favorite songs. Now, if you want to go the route of learning to read a little bit of music, honestly, it'll probably make your life easier, and I think you can still do it within the time frame that we're talking about. Again, in the Intro to Piano course, we talk about reading music. We give you all of the basic steps. Think about like 170 videos, and a lot of them are not long because they're exercises and they're short exercises. So if we were to actually break down how much content that is and how much it would require your time to go through it, but then also practice it, it's well within 2 months. I genuinely think if you have the time, if you could devote the time every day, you could absolutely get to where you're going, get to where you want to go, start being able to play some of your favorite songs within that time frame. I think it's totally practical. For a lot of you, maybe it takes a little longer. For a lot of you, maybe you don't need that much time. It all depends on not only the things you choose to focus on, which things like the Intro to Piano course can help you figure out, but also how much time every single day you are going to sit down and devote time to this instrument. And if you've ever seen any of my content anywhere on YouTube, you will know that I'm a big proponent of the idea of 5 minutes of focused work is totally valuable. If that's what you have, that's what I want you to do. 5 minutes focused is far more valuable than 50 minutes where you spend half the time looking at your phone and you're not really that focused. Ask me how I know. So how long will it take you to learn to play the piano? Again, it really depends. But hopefully this video has helped you understand that, yeah, I think in a span of 2 months, you can accomplish probably way more than you ever thought you could. And once again, if you want to grab that Intro to Piano course for 50% off, there's a link in the description. You don't need a code or anything like that. You just go grab it and you will have access to all the material and you can get started right away. And you can probably finish that course in less than 2 months. Regardless of what you want to do, I just want to see you start playing this instrument. I want to see you start achieving your goals at the piano. So get a good start on it and use the comment section down below to publicly state what you hope to accomplish on this instrument. What are you hoping to learn? What are you hoping to be able to play? And if I can help you get there in any way, shape, or form, that's what I'm here for. So thank you so much for watching this video. We will see you next time. Will it be incredibly...